Hi. Hi, can you hear me? Good morning, Carrie.
Yes, I
Hi.
can hear you.
That's good. Is it clear enough?
I think so.
Okay. And can you see the screen that I
Yes.
share? Okay,
Yes.
cool.
Cultural diversity in Taiwan.
In Taiwan. Okay. So then I'll be back in like around 9:25. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so see you guys later.
See you later.
See you.
Hello，是 Amy 吗？
Sonia，老师说他大概9:25会来。
好，所以老师先离开嘛。
对，他刚刚有测试一下声音跟就是看得到 PPT 这样。
OK，
应该是吧 ，Carrie 。我刚刚加入的时候是听到这个。
对，他有测试麦克风跟投影片。
对。
感谢大家。 Hello, Amy 老师。
Hi, good morning.
Good morning。我今天代理 Kevin
Oh,
主
okay.
持，Yeah。
好
So later I will start, and then I will give it to you, and then
Okay.
we will have 10-minute break after 10:20, 10:20 to 10:30,
Okay.
and then continue the second session.
Okay, cool.
好，谢谢老
Thank
师。
you. 不会。
好。Good morning, everyone. Sorry, today Kevin is not here. I'm Sonia. So today, our topic is cultural diversity in Taiwan. So I hope this section will help you know more about different culture in Taiwan. Our today's speaker is very special. She is currently a consulting psychologist in Minh Tran University in charge of international college. She also has her master's degree from University of Missouri. So let's welcome our today's speaker, Amy.
Hey, good morning, all the folks and staffs at Fulbright. I'm Amy. It's a great pleasure to have this chance to talk about cultural diversity in Taiwan with all of you. Can you hear me clearly? Okay, thank you. I would say this is a really large topic which incorporates a variety of aspects. When I was preparing the slide, I was thinking that what do I want to convey through this talk? Besides just simply introducing ethnicity, language, customs, food in Taiwan, I want to focus more on the awareness and understanding of the similarities and differences between your own culture and culture in Taiwan, and also the cultural adjustment. So by the end of the talk, I hope all the folks can not only learn language, not only learn knowledge, but also gain awareness and sensitivity. Okay. So first of all, let me briefly introduce myself. As Sonia just introduced, I currently work in Minh Tran University in Taipei as a school counseling psychologist. I mainly help international students of their mental health and life adjustment issue. I completed my dual master's degree in National Taiwan Normal University and University of Missouri. The cross-cultural journey in the States has definitely broadened and deepened my knowledge and experience of cultural diversity, and also learn more about myself as well. Before I studied in the US, I could only learn the American culture from like English class, textbooks, movies, media, or TV series. There were like a lot of I thought and things I didn't know that I did not have chance to figure out until I stayed in the US. Like I didn't know the popcorn in the movie theater was usually salty until I first went to the cinema, local cinema. I never filled out my race and ethnicity on the basic information form before in Taiwan because we rarely have those items on our form. And I didn't know there were alcohol selling hours, and it's different from state to state until I tried to buy beer after midnight. It was surprising, shocking, but also interesting to explore differences. So multicultural and diversity issues have always been very fascinating to me. Foreign students in my university I work at come from all over the world, and most of them are from countries in Latin America and Caribbean area. So I got a great deal of opportunities to interact with foreign students. And I really enjoy integrating my interest of cultures and my cross-cultural experience to my job. I learned their culture from their stories, and I learned what culture in Taiwan is like from their perspectives as well. So learning cultural diversity is like a nonstop and ongoing process for me. Okay. So this is the outline of today's talk. Today we'll talk about the process of cross-cultural adjustment first. Then we'll learn race and ethnicity in Taiwan, language and overall cultural values in Taiwan, in populations, diversity of geography and natural resources in Taiwan, and some aspects like customs, food, and gender issues. I hope if we have time, we can split into groups and have some group discussion in the last section. And that will be all for today. Okay. So all the ETA will stay in Taiwan for about 9 months. Am I right? Okay, so based on the length of time and that we stay in a foreign country, there are different levels of cultural immersion. We all share the experience of traveling. Maybe travel to other city in our own country or to a foreign country. Usually the trip will last for a couple of days to weeks, then we will go back home, right? So that is a short-term traveler. So try to recall one of the memory of traveling. What did you do during the trip? And how did you feel about it? Because the time are usually limited when we travel, so we try our best to maximize the value of trip. We would go to the must-visit places and eat at the must-eat restaurants. We are curious about everything, and everything seems to be so cool, so exciting and interesting. At the same time, when we travel, we minimize the scope of immersion because what we experience is the tourist experience, which is quite different from the life of local people. So for example, I traveled to Japan with my partner for 4 days 2 years ago. I've been a big fan of sushi. So the trip was awesome. The beach was stunning. Everything was just so perfect. And we were joking that why not just move there? However, we only experienced a tiny part of the life in Japan through traveling. We didn't have chance to know things like how to pay bills, how to open a bank account, how's the overall climate in the year is like, and how the hospital system works there. So compared to traveling, living in a new country is definitely another story. And on the other side of the scale is immigrant who moves to a new country for good and gets the documented citizenship or even develop a second identity. So unlike a short-term traveler and an immigrant, a sojourner is a person who resides temporarily in a new place, which is what all the folks are right now. We will experience the same exciting part as short-term traveler, but we are also going to spend a period of time to experience the adjustment and adaptation. Okay. So we can take a look at this curve. It illustrates 5 stages of cultural adjustment. A short-term traveler usually experiences the previous 2 stages, the honeymoon and the cultural shock. But for sojourners, as other folks, we're likely to go through all these 5 stages. Okay, you can think of the previous experience when you graduated from high school and then went to the university to adjust to freshman life and try to put this frame into that experience. Maybe this can help resonate more with you. So in the honeymoon stage, we visit new places, explore the campus and buildings, meet new people in the orientation and various of social events, and just like enjoy this whole new world. And the second stage, cultural shock stage, is when we find out more and more differences and it starts to be a little bit overwhelming to us. We might feel anxious and frustrated in the new environment, like, oh, the class enrollment regulations are so complex compared to high school. Or like, wow, we will never do that in my high school. And we might desire more personal relationships with family and old friends rather than meeting new people. And in the third stage, we start to kind of adjust the life in a new place. We might have reaction like, I feel I'm getting used to the life here and I'm a bit more confident. I can understand more of the living style in the university. We become more open and understanding in this stage. But however, we spend most of the time on the external culture and environment in the previous stages. So it is possible to feel a little drained and exhausted sometimes, or feel homesick. This is the 4th stage. It's a good timing for us to pay more attention on our own personal emotions and feelings. So when we are able to deal with our emotions as well as the life adjustment issues, then we move on to the last stage, acceptance and integration. In this stage, we accept the challenge of self-reflection and we develop greater flexibility and tolerance, and we can fully embrace the new life as a university student. Okay, so this is the cultural adjustment process. And we just link this frame to our experience of adjusting to university life. If we jump back to a cultural adjustment perspective, view this process of adapting to the life in Taiwan with the same frame. They're like kind of similar, but at the same time, it's likely to be more interesting and challenging because Taiwan is not only a new place, but a new country and culture. Okay. But one thing I have to remind is that this is not a one-way process. It is possible to go back and forth sometimes. And everyone has different pace going through the cultural adaptation process. And there's no certain duration of each stage because it depends on our personality, our sensitivity and awareness. And also the way we cope with stress and support and resources around us. So you can put this concept in your mind as a reminder. Check which stage you're currently at and be more well prepared during the cultural adjustment process. Okay. Okay. When it refers to cross-cultural issues, what comes to your mind? What do you associate with cultural, cross-cultural? And I think folks can type your answer on the instant chatting area and everyone can see your answer. Like, what comes to your mind when you see cross-cultural, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Exchange, wow. Relations, research, experiences. Okay, yeah, there's various different answer. Okay. Yeah. Values. Okay. Okay, so there are so many related terms, right? Yeah, I see different answers that folks just type in. So as long as it revolves two or more different cultures, it is a cross-cultural matter. It could be like cross-cultural communications, values, understanding, immersion, relationship, barrier, teamwork, just a lot of things. So basically, everything you experience in Taiwan will be cross-cultural. Okay. Okay. What is this number? I bet most people will answer 6, right? But this is just from your own point of view. What if from a perspective of another culture, some people say it is 9. There is no right or wrong answer of this question. It could be 6, it could be 9, or even like probably in some person's perspective, in some people's perspective, it looks like letter G, right? So the same thing, these are simple math questions, but what if the definition of these 4 arithmetic symbols change in another culture? Then it probably takes twice time to answer because we have to learn the new definitions and reconstruct the original knowledge in our mind. So it is important to have a mindset of being more flexible and more aware of that. People from some other cultures might interpret simple things in a way that you're not familiar with. Okay. So when we talk about cultural diversity, first thing we think of is usually ethnicity or language. But actually diversity is way more than that. It is a combination of a wide variety of dimensions, including race and ethnicity, language, religion, food, customs, and like external environments like ecosystem, the natural phenomenon, like we have typhoon and earthquake in Taiwan, and also some other demographic variables like age, gender, sexual orientation, and like social economic status, and so on. So in the talk today, I will try my best to cover every dimension, but emphasize more of the overall cultural values and beliefs. So I want to invite all the folks to kind of like switch on. Imagine there's a switch here to switch on your awareness and thought. So in each section, try to reflect how your own cultural influenced and form your personality, your values, the way that you communicate and interact with other people. And of course, try to think and understand these same questions of culture in Taiwan. Okay, so let's move to the race and ethnicity in Taiwan. The population of Taiwan is composed of 3 ethnic groups. Okay, the classification is based on the information from the Ministry of Interior in Taiwan. So they are Han Chinese, indigenous people, and new immigrants. Han Chinese included 3 sub-ethnic groups, which are Hokkien, Hakka, and mainland Chinese. So talking about ethnic groups in Taiwan, I have to bring up a little bit of Taiwan history. Okay. Because from 1895 to 1945, Taiwan was a colony of Japan. And Hokkien and Hakka people refer to immigrants from certain areas in China while Japan occupied Taiwan. Hokkien people are descendants of Han Chinese whose ancestors were in southern part of Fujian in China. And Hakka people's ancestors were from the areas of Guangdong in China. Their dialects are Hokkien and Hakka. In 1945 was the end of World War II, and Japan was defeated in the war. So the colonized era just terminated. Then Nanjing government from China moved to Taiwan in mid-1940s. So mainland Chinese refers to those people who immigrated from China after mid-1940s. Okay, so although there are 3 sub-ethnic groups in Han Chinese, we won't really introduce our ethnicity as Han Chinese. Especially more and more people from these sub-ethnic groups have integrated socially and culturally. For example, like me, my mom is Hakka, my dad is Hokkien, and my parents and I just identify ourselves as Taiwanese. And both of them can speak their dialects, but we all communicate in Chinese. Okay, I hope this is not too complex. Okay. And indigenous people refer to those who resided in Taiwan before 17th century. They belong to Austronesian language family and share similar biological race with ancestors of some people from the Philippines and southern Vietnam. So until 2014, there are 16 officially recognized groups, and they mainly live in eastern Taiwan, like Hualien and Taidong. These are some pictures of different tribes. Every tribe has their unique costumes, iconic symbols, dances, and unique way to celebrate harvest. Okay, and there's also one group of populations that we called Taiwanese new immigrants. They immigrated to Taiwan for either marriage or working purposes. And most of them are from China, Vietnam, Indonesia, and the Philippines, and of course, other countries. Okay, so these are the ethnicities in Taiwan. Han Chinese is the majority. But what is the proportion of the population in each group? Okay. What do you think the percentage of Han Chinese is? You can make a guess in your mind. Okay. So the fact is the proportion is very imbalanced among the groups. Actually, 96% of people in Taiwan are Han Chinese. 2% are indigenous people, and only 1% are new immigrants. It's like, yes, there are diverse ethnicity in Taiwan, but at the same time, we tend to be more homogeneous compared to the US. Okay, so this is the picture of my fellow grad students in Taiwan. As we can see, all of us are Taiwanese. We share the same ethnicity and similar skin colors. Oh, I found that even the gender is homogeneous. I think there were only 2 male students in my class. Yes. Okay, and here is another other one. This is the picture of my fellow grad students in the US. It's so different, right? They're like different skin tones, different ethnicities. like Americans, African Americans, Asian Americans, Latinos, and international students from Taiwan, from China, Malaysia, and Korea. So in contrast with my fellow students in Taiwan, the component of people in this picture is way more diverse and ethnically heterogeneous. Okay. We can view the diversity as a spectrum. I grew up in an ethnically homogeneous country, and I stay in a relatively heterogeneous country. Oh, it's like a tongue twister. I have been the majority in my culture throughout my whole life. And when I stay in the US, all of a sudden I turn into the non-majority. I usually use the word non-majority instead of minority because it sounds more neutral. So it was new to me, especially I live in Missouri. Asian American populations or Asian international students, there are not as many as the area like California. I look different from most people on the street. People were not speaking Chinese. I couldn't, it's not that easy to find authentic Taiwanese food there. I truly experienced the cultural adjustment process, the 5 stages. I got excited and frustrated. I got curious and anxious. And for all the folks, it's the opposite way. You grew up in an ethnically heterogeneous country, and now you stay in a more homogeneous country. I think most of you just got to Taiwan, like maybe a couple weeks or a couple days. I don't know, just got to Taiwan and are still probably under quarantine. So you can try to imagine how this kind of transition is going to be like. Do you think racism and discrimination happen less in an ethnically less diverse country? Think of it, I'll talk about later. So in contrast to Taiwan, the US is considered as a more ethically diverse country. Ethnic issue has always been a hot topic in the US or around the world. Last May, we all know that George Floyd event happened, right? So protest against the police brutality and Black Lives Matters movement has become the largest protest in the US history. And this year, multiple violent attacks happened to Asian Americans due to the COVID pandemic. It's sad to see that human beings have this kind of racial hatred and hurt each other while we are all human beings. When I was in the US, I experienced discrimination as well. I remember that day I was walking through the parking area on campus with one of my Taiwanese friends. Both of us have like typical Asian eyes. They're like slanted in an almond shape with mono eyelid. And there was a Black guy walking by us. He saw us and made fun of us by pulling his eyes slanted and said "ching chong chong" to us. We were like shocked and scared. This had never happened to me before. I feel so bad for us, and I feel so bad for his ignorance of being such racist. Yeah. And another example is one of my white fellow joked to me. He said, there's a saying that Asian women and elderly are 3 types of bad drivers. So when you get old, you will reach all 3 of them. I mean, this was just a joke and I wasn't offended at all. But this is truly a kind of stereotype and discrimination, not only about ethnicity, but age and gender. Yes. So, when I was making this slide one day, I was also listening to the broadcast, and the host said, today is October 1st, and it is National Black Dog Day. It's to encourage the adoption of Black dogs because they are less likely to be adopted than other colors. I was quite surprised and shocked that this kind of race and skin color issue or hair color issue exists in dogs' world as well. And it's interesting to learn from this special day when I was preparing for the talk in a similar topic. Okay, so these are examples happen in a relatively heterogeneous country. And what about Taiwan? Jump back to the question I brought up. Does racism and discrimination happen less here? Well, me personally do not agree with it. I think once people live together, discriminations happen. It's sad, but it's true. Especially Taiwan is less ethnically diverse. It somehow narrows down our vision toward people from different cultures. Okay. So one common example is a lot of parents in Taiwan expect their children's American teacher to be white. If the American teacher is not white, the teacher will be considered as either not qualified enough or as a non-native English speaker. This shows that many parents in Taiwan have inadequate knowledge and sensitivity toward multicultural issues. And it's really sarcastic because they send their kids to learn English and thought their kids are going to learn multicultural knowledge by learning English. Okay, there's a story of a Samoan American teacher teaching English in Taiwan. She is an American growing up all over the US and Germany, and English is her first language. She and her husband, Taiwanese husband, married and they decided to live in Taiwan. And one day she found an advertisement on a newspaper for a teaching position. She then applied, did a demo, and was hired on spot. Because she has brown skin, black hair, brown eyes, and noticeable Samoan traditional tattoo, some parents started to question her ability to teach, whether or not she was a native speaker, and also question her boss that how she could hire her. Some parents thought she is from Southern East Asia just because her appearance does not look like Caucasian. And luckily, she has a nice boss with sensitivity. Her boss educated those parents, told them that if they didn't believe, they could sit in on her class and watch her teach. One of the parents did sit in her class for an hour. She didn't say a word and she left when the class was over. She didn't apologize to the teacher and her boss, but she did invite the teacher to lunch the next day to ask her to be English tutor to her children, and even encouraged her friends with children to send them to her. And every now and then there are similar things still happen in her school. But her boss and her just continue to educate parents on this issue. Yeah, it's such racist to judge people just based on their skin color and their appearance. But this is a true story in Taiwan. Okay. Stereotype and mislabeling are around us. And new immigrants in Taiwan is a big targeted group being discriminated. Many people have such a hatred toward Chinese people due to some maybe political issues, political reasons. And Southern East Asians are considered as low educated, dirty, and dangerous for a lot of Taiwanese people. And because Maria is a common female name in the Philippines, many ignorant Taiwanese people will just call all the female Southern East Asian laborers Maria. But they have their real name, and a lot of them are even not from the Philippines. This is just like the labels have been trying so hard to tear off for decades. The government and more people gain awareness of this issue, so advocacy and education has raised up recent years. Every time I see these types of articles or news, I feel so sorrowful for them and for people's ignorance. When we are lacking in multicultural knowledge and sensitivity, we tend to overgeneralize people. You have brown skin and your hair is black, so you're from Southern East Asia. She's dangerous because she's black. He is not white, so he's not American. Discrimination happens when we make conclusions with an oversimplified and unreasonable attitude. it can be a form of abuse, and abuse in any form is unethical. So as we can see, racism is everywhere. It happens in both highly diverse and less diverse culture. We probably cannot eliminate the existence of discrimination, but we can increase our awareness and educate people around us to reduce it. Okay. Being diverse can be a mindset. With different levels of awareness and acceptance, it can go from discrimination to microaggression, to indifference that you don't care about diversity issue at all, and to acceptance and active inclusion. The original spectrum used the word tolerance instead of acceptance, but I changed it to acceptance because tolerance sounds more like passive, like we are willing to endure people or things that we dislike without fully understanding and embracing them. So I think acceptance is a warmer and milder word. So also microaggression is a form of discrimination. It is usually unconscious and usually sound less offensive or even sound like a compliment. So it's more likely for people to do or say something without noticing that it is considered microaggression. Okay, these are examples of microaggression that happened to me. In the US, I used to hear people like frequently telling me that I'm good at math, or they expect me to know how to play the piano or violin just because I'm Asian. Again, they're overgeneralized. Statistically, on the worldwide ranking of MAP, top 5 countries are truly all in Asia. It's true, I really did some research. But when people generalize this to every single Asian, then this is going to result in microaggression. And another example happened when I rented my house in the US. I remember my landlord said, it's nice to rent my house to Asian students. You guys are always more quiet than native students. The hidden message is in these words where Asians are all quiet and Americans are all loud. This is completely microaggression. And I also used to hear people around me say that she's Aboriginal, she must be good at singing. That basketball team is predominant because they have more Black players. I'm so glad that my English teacher is white. Yes. So why do we have these impressions or concepts of a certain ethnicity of people? We learn knowledge of different cultures from media, books, movies, but it is usually a tip of iceberg mixing with our bias. This is one of the most viewed TED Talks delivered by Adichie. Have you seen this video before? Okay, maybe some folks have seen this. I'll briefly summarize her story. Oh, okay, yes. So some folks seen this. Yeah, I love this video as well. Okay. Adichie is a Nigerian. She left Nigeria for the US at the age of 19 to pursue her bachelor's degree. She found out a lot of stereotypes from questions she was asked and comments from other people in the US. For example, her American roommate asked where she learned to speak English so well and was confused when she told her that the official language in Nigeria is English. She asked Adichie to show her some tribal music and got disappointed when Adichie showed her tape of Mariah Carey to her. And she assumed that Adichie did not know how to use a stove. She even felt sorry when knowing Adichie is in Africa in the beginning. Her roommate had a single story of African. This is how stereotype and microaggression produced. In the video, this is how she said about single story. The single story creates stereotypes. And the problem with stereotypes is not that they are untrue, but that they are incomplete. So when we conclude things from a small incomplete piece we perceived, that is so likely to lead to discrimination. Okay, so if some of the folks haven't seen this video, you can just Google this video. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So teach children not only English, but cultural diversity. You will be teaching English in primary schools and elementary school in Taiwan. I think it serves as a good opportunity to teach those kids what cultural diversity is, not only English, the language. And I have some ideas and experience I can share with you. I have a niece, my brother's daughter. She is 9 years old now. I remember when she was like maybe 6 or 7, one day she was doodling with her crayons. I was sitting next to her watching TV. Then I suddenly glimpsed the color label on the crayon box. And this is the exact same crayon of my niece. And I found this color label on the internet. It says this color on the first row that I circled is the color of flesh. And the other color below, which looks more like apricot for me, is deep flesh. I was shocked when I saw this, because this is a stationery for children. How can the manufacturer be so lacking in multicultural knowledge and sensitivity? This can potentially jeopardize the kid's mind in a really latent way. So at that moment, I decided to turn it into a chance to educate her about different skin colors. I asked her, "Hey, Queenie, I want to draw something. Can you hand me the skin color crayon?" And as what I expected, she handed me the flesh crayon. I said, "Thank you, but why do you think this is the skin color crayon I want?" She just gave me a really big questionable face with question marks above her head. Then I pointed out the black color, the coffee color, the caramel color on the color label, telling her that these are also skin colors. And her response was quite creative and funny to me. She said, "Oh yeah, that's true. When you get suntanned." I was like, yes, that could be possible. But what I mean is a lot of people were born with these skin colors. Then I Googled some pictures, show her pictures of like Obama, Beyonce, The Rock, and Power Station, a popular Taiwanese band composed of 2 indigenous singers. Okay, and so why did this happen? It wasn't her fault. It is because of the homogeneous environment in Taiwan, and also because that, the school doesn't teach this. She doesn't have chance to learn diversity. So from this story, I started to recall my memory when I was at her age. I didn't think I had this awareness when I was little either. So I think crayon is a really reachable and resonating materials for children. So maybe like in the future, when you're in class, you can use this material to teach them diversity and different skin colors. And another example is when I was in the US, in one class, we discussed ethnic issue. The class was instructed by a female African American professor, and the classmates were very diverse in that class. In the first class, the professor stood in the front of the classroom and asked us a very straightforward question. She said, "As all the folks can see, I'm Black and I'm a woman. What comes to your mind when you first saw me?" In the beginning couple seconds, the class was very quiet. Then the professor said, "Feel free to tell me. Don't worry about being offending. I want to know your real thought." Then one white student spoke first. He said, "When I first saw you, I think you must work hard, because I guess it's quite struggling for a woman to be well educated, especially in Africa." The teacher appreciated his voice, and then more and more students spoke up. They mention things related to being a woman, her identity, the poverty in Africa, learning English, things like that. When I heard some of the comments, I was quite anxious that the teacher would get pissed, but of course she didn't. I was very impressed by the way she encouraged us to speak up our first thoughts, because a lot of our thoughts were very unconscious. We wouldn't notice if she didn't ask us to tell her. She made herself as a teaching material to inspire our critical thinking of ethnic and diversity issues. I think this is also a good example. Maybe you can invite kids in your class to speak up when what comes to their minds when they first saw you. And after gathering their thoughts, you can ask, why do they think that way? And where do they learn the ideas from? And further do some clarifications, introduce more of the people and cultures in the US, different ethnicity and skin colors. You as a person from another culture in Taiwan can serve as a good teaching materials. Okay. Okay, so any questions so far? Okay. Okay, so I spent quite a bit of time talking about ethnicity in Taiwan and the importance of multicultural awareness. Now let's move to the next topic, language in Taiwan. Okay, the official language in Taiwan is Chinese, also known as Mandarin. There are two dialect languages, which are Taiwanese, or we say Hokkien, and Hakka. Okay, indigenous people have different language in their own tribe as well. And among all these languages, only Chinese has written character. In Taiwan, we use traditional Chinese character, same as Hong Kong and Macau. Yeah, I think that's it. Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Macau. And people in China use simplified Chinese character. The difference is the way that the characters look. Traditional characters are typically more complicated and have more strokes. As we can see, the upper one is traditional Chinese, which is used in Taiwan. And the lower one is simplified Chinese character. The strokes are apparently simplifier. And the words 快乐学习 means happy learning or learning happily. Okay, just happy and learn. Okay, and if you take further look into Chinese character, we can find that the structure of Chinese character is very different from English. Vocabulary words in English are composed of letters. So as long as we know alphabets, we are able to pronounce the vocabulary when we read it. However, unlike English, we wouldn't know how to pronounce the Chinese character if we did not learn that exact character. Yeah. And one of the principles of how Chinese character is constructed is really interesting. Some characters were created by the ancestor based on how they look. For example, the sun, the eye, the wood, the mountain, the horse, and knife, fish, door. You can see the process of evolution and then became the present characters that we use. Not all the Chinese characters were formed this way, but this is the most basic principle, and the words are related to wild creatures and natural things and tools because it reflected the primitive living skills of our ancestors. And my favorite one is the character on the right. Guess what it is? Yeah, I just see some folks got the right answer. Yes, it's turtle. Yeah, isn't this cute? I think it's super cute because you can see clearly of the shell, the head, and the legs. I guess that's why my classmates in the US asked me, how did you draw that? He used the word draw. It's funny to me. And when they saw me writing the Chinese, I think Chinese is indeed pretty complex, but it's beautiful. Okay. Okay, the language is constructed based on how people interact and communicate. So language reflects culture. One example is contact lens. In Chinese, we call it invisible glasses. Why the same thing has different names in different culture? It is not just we name it differently. It reflects how cultural influences the way we name the same thing in a different way. In English, it is contact lens because the lens is touching my eyeball. It's my eyeball. And in Chinese, we call it invisible glasses because from other people's angle, it's invisible. It's from other people's angle. So in Chinese culture, we consider other people's feelings, their thoughts a lot. Sometimes they're even prior to our own thoughts. So when people ask me, you don't like it, do you? Actually, my answer in Chinese will be, yes, I don't like it. Because the complete message of this sentence is, yes, you are right, I don't like it. It's easier and straightforward in English. The answer will be just, no, I don't like it. So no, it is my opinion. So in Chinese context, we will validate other people's word first, then express our opinion. So when I first learned the grammar of negative question in English when I was little, it was so confusing because I processed those sentence and answered the question with Chinese cultural logic, but it works opposite in English. Okay. We care about other people and especially the whole group in Taiwan, in like Chinese culture. We do the best to maintain the group harmony. Harmony has different meanings. If it is applied in music, we would hear a pleasant sound. If some flavors are harmonious, we can enjoy a delicious meal. Harmony is about finding the right balance in different situations in order to teach peace and happiness. And putting harmony in Chinese culture context, it has profound meanings. We live in harmony. People share various kinds of like interests and accept different opinions without showing disagreements. We tend to avoid conflict when we interact with people. And reaching harmony and peace is the ultimate goal. There's a saying in Chinese, harmony in family brings success to everything, which shows that harmony in family is so fundamental. It is the characteristic of collectivist culture. So as the picture depicts, the right one is more like collectivist culture. It's like the prerequisite for me to speak up my opinion is when I'm sure that we are on the same page. There are consensus among us. And the left one is more like the individualism. I speak up because I have my own point of view. Taiwan and most Asian countries are more like collectivism, and the US and many other European countries tend to be more individualist. Okay, so yes, it's 10:20 and are we going to like pause here and have a 10 minutes break? Okay, sounds cool. Okay, so we'll be back at 10:30. Okay, let's take a break and grab something to drink.
Okay, 10:30. I hope everyone is back. Okay, so let's continue our second session.
Okay, thank you, Sonia. Okay. So we just talk about individualism and collectivism. They reflect how people communicate. For individualism, people clearly see the goal, just cut to the chase and goes to it straightforwardly. But in collectivist culture, we tend to follow an indirect path. We know what the goal is, but meanwhile, the way how we express or the process of communication is what we care more about. We have to make sure that the way we express is polite, is not offensive, is clear enough, it's not going to lead to any misunderstanding. It's not going to hurt people's feeling. We consider other people's and the harmony of relationships a lot. For example, one time my American friends invited me for dinner. They came up with 2 options, but couldn't decide which restaurant to eat at. So they asked my opinion. Do I prefer A, a pizza place, or B, a Mexican restaurant? I said, I'm okay with both of them. But honestly, I want neither of them because I was craving for sushi and I wanted something lighter because my stomach wasn't feeling good. But it was hard for me just to tell them directly what I want and my personal condition because I was afraid that it's too dominant to just tell them what I want to add on an option C of sushi. I didn't want the group to change their decision because of my stomach condition. I was afraid that if I told them straightforwardly that I don't want pizza and American and Mexican food, would sound like I was refusing to them. Another reason was because I was the only 2 Asians. Rest of them were American. I thought I have to fit into the majority of group, and it's impolite to tell them I want Asian food. Just to make things easier and maintain the group harmony, I'd rather just not telling them my idea and need. Coincidentally, because there was a newly opened sushi place near our campus, so we ended up going there. I told my friend, it's so nice because I've been craving for sushi. She said, then why didn't you tell us? I told her what I was actually thinking, and she said, it's very kind of you to be so thoughtful, but we would like to know your thoughts too. Next time, if you have any ideas, please just let us know. For me, it's like a new corrective experience. I got to review my host culture, understand what my culture has told me. Meanwhile, I also learned the communication style in the visualist culture, try to adjust and strike a balance. Okay. And this is the relationship with authority and elderly. For collectivism, besides harmony of relationships, we emphasize the vertical relationship of senior and junior, like parent and child, teacher and student, boss and subordinate. We have to show not only our respect to them, but something higher than respect, sometimes even like honor and awe. In a lot of Asian family, the children have to listen to the parents without objection. If kids have some opinion against their parents, that would be considered as being rebellious. On the contrary, in individualism, it's relatively more equal. In the individual counseling session, I noticed that students from different countries actually they will act differently when they walk into the counseling room. Usually I will say, hi, how are you? Have a seat. Most students from Latin America will take the seat, but most Asians, especially Japanese, they will wait for me to take the seat first before they sit down. It's like for them, I'm the psychologist, they're the client, I'm the authority, and I'm higher on the hierarchy. So they cannot sit down before I sit. Okay, So this is the relationship with the authority and elderly in different culture. And another aspect that individualism differs from collectivism is a person's self. In collectivist culture, our parents educate us the philosophy of modesty and humility since we were little. If I achieve something and receive praise from others, we cannot show too much of our pleasure because that is just too pride. Instead, we have to be humble. We cannot be satisfied with the current circumstance, and we have to achieve further progress. Being modest is a good trait because no one likes people who always like boast and brag about their achievement and show off to other people all the time. But somehow, some people or some parents in the collectivism culture overemphasize the meaning of humility, and it turns into self-undermining our confidence. If we accept compliment from other people, we're too pride. This is another thing I learned in the US, to practice to accept compliment. One time my advisor in the US told me that, Amy, I was impressed with your reflection paper. Of course, I was really happy to hear that. But my first reaction was, no, it's not that good. This similar situation happened multiple times in the US to me. I found myself awkward when people give me a compliment. So I started to do some self-retrospect of this issue. Also observe people, how people in the visualist culture respond to compliment. I figured that people just simply say, thank you. So I started to practice saying thank you when someone praised me, and I found it actually feels good. I don't think I'm disobey the philosophy of modesty in my culture, because in my mind, I still have a humble attitude. But at the same time, I learned to appreciate praise from other people as well as self-affirmation. To appreciate the strengths and achievements of oneself is important, and it doesn't mean that we are too pride. Okay. So these thoughts are all originated from Confucian philosophy. To be modest, to keep the group harmony, to respect and honor our parents. Some other concepts in collectivism are 面子, like philosophy of tolerance and filial piety. Sorry. 面子 means face, and it refers to a person's pride, prestige, and reputation. We have to save face for ourselves and family. Losing face happens when someone has done mistake and everyone is aware of it. It's stronger than embarrassment. In collectivist culture, kids are expected to perform well in public for saving parents' face. When the kid doesn't meet their parents' expectation, for example, if the kid enters the university that is not as good as what the family expected, it's so likely to hear their parents say to their kid, you make me lose my face in front of all the relatives and friends. I think embarrassment is more like how an individual feel, but losing 面子 focus more on how other people judge me or judge us. And philosophy of tolerance is also for the sake of harmony. We tend to not express our feelings, especially anger, because it would ruin the harmony of relationship. And filial piety is the respect is the respect of our parents. We have to honor them, be thankful for what your parents have done for us, and be obedient. This is a really major belief in our culture, especially in traditional Chinese family. Okay, so after viewing the differences between individualism and collectivism, what do you think and how do you feel? One thing to note is that individualism or collectivism is an overall tendency of value and attitude or belief in a culture. It's not an absolute truth. In Taiwan, there are still a lot of people, they talk in a really straightforward way. In the US, there are still parents that they are less open and more dominant to their kids. If we think all the American are blah, 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 because they're from an individualist culture, or all the Taiwanese are blah, 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 since they're collectivism, then that's a single story. It's likely to lead to either microaggression or discrimination. Okay. So to incorporate this cultural knowledge to classroom, I have some advice to ETAs. In collectivist culture, students tend to be more quiet in class because we are afraid of that. If we raise our hand during the class, we are interrupting the teacher's talk. Or we are afraid of being laughed or judged, that other classmates would probably think my question is stupid. So encourage kids to ask and speak up if they have any ideas or questions. To let them know that their ideas and questions are good, give them some validation verbally or with tokens like stickers or cue stamps. Because a lot of parents that they value scores and academic work very much, these leads to lacking confidence and uncertainty of kids' mind. They have to make sure their idea or question is good enough before they can speak up. Let them know that there's no need to be perfect, and perfection does not even exist, right? I think I struggle a little bit with speaking up in class in the beginning in the US. I had those concerns and hesitations all the time. I'm afraid of that it would be impolite to the teacher or being laughed and judged by other fellows. But then I told myself, if I don't step out the first step, I'm going to lose the opportunity to learn. Then I started to pay attention when other students share their opinion in class. I found that it was not horrible at all. So then finally one day, I plucked up my courage, raised my hand, and shared my thoughts. Although I was really nervous, the result turned out to be good. I got feedback from teachers and fellows. This is another lesson I learned from the culture in the US. Because the students you're going to teach will be elementary school or in junior high school, right? So if your class are at a younger age, you can incorporate some materials like drawing, paper folding, or art creating as a good material. Because for some kids, maybe their oral expression has not developed that well, then those materials can help them express in an easier form. We use those materials in counseling to help some clients to express as well. Okay. So let's move on to the next session. Okay, this is a world map. I believe all of you know where Taiwan locates. If my memory serves me right, it took around 12 or 13 hours to fly here from the US, right? Okay, so Taiwan is a small island on the Pacific Ocean. The actual size of Taiwan is smaller than the one on the map because I magnify a little bit, or it's merely a tiny dot. So do you know how much the United States is bigger than Taiwan? Okay, the answer is 272 times bigger. But the population in the US is only 13 times more than Taiwan, which means the density of population in Taiwan is very high. It is the 17th most densely populated country in the world ranking. I live in Taipei and I take bus and or MRT to work every day. During the rush hour, the MRT is always so packed that even standing firm in the car can be struggling. Okay, and because of the area has because the land area has a huge difference in between the US and Taiwan, people have different perceptions of distance. Sorry. I often hear people in the US say, it's pretty close, only 2 hours driving. I was like, that's not close. That's almost half of the distance of Taiwan. And plus, if you take high-speed rail in Taiwan, it takes only 2 hours from Taipei to Kaohsiung. Yeah, so we have different perceptions of distance. Okay. And there are 20 cities in there are 20 cities and counties. Okay, based on the location, Taiwan can be divided into 5 regions: the northern, central, southern, eastern Taiwan, and outlying island, including Matsu, Kinmen, and Penghu. And let's look at the geographic map of Taiwan. It's incredibly mountainous with the subtropical climate. There is a central mountain running through Taiwan, like the light yellow part on the map. And the east coast is full of thick and lush jungles with a wide range of wildlife. And the west and north lowland areas have been heavily developed and currently accommodates about 90% of the population. So each red dots stand for 8,000 people. So as you can see, the red dots gather more in the north and west coast of Taiwan. Okay, and although Taiwan is small, we are rich in amazing natural resorts. We have beautiful beaches on the coastline. We have special rocks shaped by wind and sea. We have hot spring, volcanoes, magnificent Taroko Gorge, and the breathtaking huge Salmon Lake. So because Taiwan is surrounded by sea, only one city does not have beach. So I'm pretty sure that there will be so many to visit place on your list. Okay, and let's move to the festival and customs. Most of the festivals in Taiwan are celebrated on specific dates according to the lunar calendar, and therefore change slightly each year in relation to Gregorian calendar. And the biggest 3 festivals in Taiwan are Chinese New Year, Dragon Boat Festival, and Mid-Autumn Festival. So we just celebrated Mid-Autumn Festival like 3 weeks ago. Okay, and on New Year Eve, family get together and have bountiful dinner together. And just like other holiday around the world, food plays an essential role in the celebration. There are specific food we will eat, which carries important symbols. Like we eat hot pie because it symbolizes reunion, and we eat dumpling because the shape of dumpling is similar to the shape of ancient Chinese money, the gold, which symbolized wealth. Okay, and there's things like fish, the turnip cake, rice cake, and fruits like pineapple, apple, and orange, because they have special meanings due to the similar pronunciations with good luck and good fortune in either Taiwanese or Chinese. Okay, and besides meaningful delicacy, the most exciting thing for kids during the Chinese New Year is red envelope. Kids will receive red envelopes from adults with cash inside, which brings special bless and good luck. And we will put red couplets with calligraphy, writing of blessing words on the house door. Again, it symbolized good luck and fortune. Okay, and another special thing about Chinese New Year is that each year has a represented animal from the Chinese zodiac. Chinese zodiac include 12 animals, which repeat on a 12-year cycle. So it is the year of the ox this year. So next year it will be the year of tiger, right? Yeah. And 12 years later, in 2033, it will be the year of the ox again. So you can count your birth year and see what your Chinese zodiac is. Okay. And yeah, this is the Dragon Boat Festival. I will just go through it real quick. This is the Mid-Autumn Festival. Oh, and in Taiwan, apparently red is a lucky color, color of good luck. And that's why we have red couplets, a red envelope, and we dress in red during the Chinese New Year. And there are plentiful words mean good luck in different aspects, like good luck in career, good luck in family, relationship, wealth, and health, and safety, and prosperity, happiness, longevity, just a lot of things. And I remember my host mom in the US, she had a red coat that she bought in China years ago. And it has a bunch of Chinese character with different meaning of good luck printed on the coat. And one day she asked me the meaning of each word. And I was like, this means good luck. and that one means good luck, and this means good luck. And then the coat just became her favorite clothes in the closet. It's kind of funny and interesting to me. Okay. And in Western culture, 13 is considered as an unlucky number. In Taiwan, we believe 4 is unlucky because it pronounced it as 4, and it sounds similar to death, which is 死, 4 and 死. So we believe that 4 linked to death. So some buildings in Taiwan, we skip the 4th floor, so the elevator won't show the button of 4th floor. Okay. And religion. Okay, let's talk about religion. Religion in Taiwan is very diverse. There are Buddhism, Taoism, some Christians, Catholics, and other various beliefs. But the majority of Taiwanese people practice is folk religion, which is a combination of Buddhism and Taoism with a Confucian worldview. The temples in Taiwan are mostly for folk religion. There are usually multiple gods in the temple. Each god is in charge in some specifically things like wealth, academic, love, or fertility. So if I go to the temple, I will worship all of them with a burnt incense or burnt incenses to get blessed from all dimensions of my life. And the architecture of temple is usually characterized by its delicate and colorful designs with dragon and phoenix. And the picture is in this slide is one of the most famous temple in Taipei, Longshan Temple, and it's just right next to Longshan Temple MRT station. Okay. And the next section is food. Okay, I would say eating in Taiwan is super convenient with various options. And food choices are very multicultural. Exotic cuisines are easily to find, like American, French, Italian, Japanese, Thai, Korean, Vietnamese food. And the flavor was slightly mixed with Taiwanese flavor and turned out to be special and unique. It's likely, sorry. It's like a big melting pot. I think the best example is pizza. A couple months ago, Pizza Hut in Taiwan had a flash sale of pizza with, okay, listen carefully, with pig blood cake, cilantro, peanut powder, and century eggs on toppings of the pizza. Century eggs is a processed preserved egg made by duck egg, and it looks greenish black on the outer skin. I think I didn't try it. Although I like those toppings separately, I just don't think they match on the pizza. Okay. So for local food, night market is a must go in Taiwan. There are so many street foods with distinguished Taiwanese flavor like stinky tofu, oyster omelet, green onion pancake. And the best part is that they are fairly cheap. You can get a whole meal in a great deal. Also, Taiwan is known as the kingdom of fruit. Because we are a subtropical country with perfect climate and environment for growing diverse fruit. Therefore, drinks and beverage shops are everywhere. You can find fresh juice and special handmade drink like boba milk tea. And most awesome part is that the amount of ice and sugar can be customized. I think drinking those kinds of fresh handshaking beverage is probably the most prevailing food culture in Taiwan now. And the last thing about eating in Taiwan is convenience store, which is also my favorite part. If you have limited time to eat, you can definitely grab some snack and various microwavable food real quick in a convenience store. They're basically everywhere, especially in big city, I mean. You can find 7-Eleven on the corner of the street, and then Family Mart across from it, and then another 7-Eleven right next to the Family Mart. Taiwan has the second highest density of convenience store in the world behind South Korea. Not just for buying food, convenience store in Taiwan are just amazingly convenient because you can literally do anything there, everything there. Like pay your bills, buy tickets of concert or train, print photos. And I can deliver things from one 7-Eleven to another branch in different city. And also, if I order something online, it can be shipped to 7-Eleven near my place. I personally go to convenience store every day, multiple times, that I cannot live without it. Okay, the last part is, oh, yeah, this is the pizza that I mentioned. The one on the right is the the pig blood cake flavor pizza. Yeah, we just like to mix in and integrate Asian flavor into pizza. Okay, and the last part is gender issue in Taiwan. Gender is a big issue when it refers to diversity. I think compared to other Asian countries, Taiwan is pretty advanced and open about gender issues. Schools, younger generations, advocates, and they are working on promoting people's awareness, equality, and rights of LGBTQ. I'm really proud of Taiwan for this because the same-sex marriage law in Taiwan was approved in 2019, like two years ago. And we became the first same-sex marriage legalized country in Asia. Okay, today we talk about cross-cultural adjustment and a wide range of cultural diversity in Taiwan. So I want to sum up with the talk today with this CNCC model proposed by one of my professors in University of Missouri. So take a look at this picture. The outer circle is the ecological system. When we learn a culture, we have to understand the big ecological system, including the environment, the law and policy, the whole society, and historical background as the entire context. Then the key of this model is the triangle part, which incorporates 3 components: cross-cultural awareness, skills, and knowledge. These 3 components can be acronymed as ASK. I think that it's easier to remember, ASK. The awareness means constantly being aware of ourselves in a new culture context. Like I was aware of myself being anxious for speaking up in class in the US and how the collectivism affected me. Skills refers to a person's ability to cope, to navigate and interact with others in a different culture context. Like I observed how people in the US communicate before I communicate with them and how I try to strike a balance between my culture and the culture in the US. And knowledge refers to understanding your own culture and the new culture. Like today we discussed lots of things about cultures in Taiwan, differences between individualism and collectivism. Those are cross-cultural knowledge. And within the triangle, there are 3 circles. The inner 2 circles are your previous culture immersion experience, like moving or traveling to a new country. And the core circles is your personal traits, attitude, and coping skills. Like, are you adventurous? Do you have willingness to engage? Can you tolerate ambiguity? And the white circle is the continuous process of self-retrospection through experiencing, reflection, and dialogue. Okay, I think this model can serve as a good conclusion of the talk today, as well as a mindset for all the folks to integrate yourself in a new culture. And regarding this model, if folks are interested in it, I can send Kevi or Sonia the reading material, and then they can send to all the folks. Okay, so then I want to split into groups, maybe 5 people in a group, and we can have a group discussion. So we can discuss, first question is, what are the most impressive parts of cultures in Taiwan, like after having the talk today? And the second question is about ourselves. So to adjust the crossing cultural life in Taiwan, what are my strengths and weaknesses based on the ask model? And how can I apply those strengths or to improve those weaknesses? Okay, so can Sonia help the folks to split into groups?
Yes, Jody, actually, Jody will help us.
Okay, thanks, Jody. So we'll, what time is it? It's 11. So let's discuss for 10 minutes, okay?
Okay, Jody, if you are ready, you can set it up.
Excuse me, Jody. Yes, one of the folk, Karenina, she messaged me that she just got back to the hotel room and she wants to join the group discussion. So can you help to assign her in?
What's her name again?
I think it's Karenina. Karenina.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you.
no problem.
Okay, I think it's 10 minutes. Okay. So all the folks can go back to the big meeting room. Thank you. Okay. So I think all the folks are back to our big meeting room, right? Okay, so after the discussion, anyone wants to share your thoughts or any ideas or any feedback, just welcome to talk about it. Or any question.
I was just going to say one thing our group talked about was like with the ASK model, one skill that some people have that can make adjusting easier is if you do already know some Mandarin Chinese, that can help you navigate things more quickly and like help kind of with that cultural barrier.
Mhm. Yes, like language reflects culture. So like if some folks know Mandarin, already know Mandarin, or you're learning Mandarin, it's of course gonna help you to adjust and understand the culture in Taiwan more. Okay. Any other thoughts?
Yeah.
I think.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I was going to say for the impressive parts of cultures in Taiwan, I think we had a general consensus that we're very excited to try fruit.
Mm.
And it all looks really good.
Yeah, fruits are amazing in Taiwan. Like I like guava, but when I was in Missouri, it's not easy for me to find guava. Yeah, so it's like different fruits are in different area in the world, and fruits in Taiwan are just amazing. Yeah. And then Max?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Kelsey, forgot her last name, but Kelsey brought up religions and briefly mentioned this. I thought it was pretty interesting how there's a significant amount of religious tolerance, I guess, within the country. Yeah, we were discussing that a little bit. I think that's impressive.
Okay. Thanks for your feedback. Okay.
I was just going to say that I am really psyched to see. I haven't like started teaching or been to a school yet, but based on the descriptions and presentations the schools gave, I'm placed in Taidong, but it seems like a lot of them really prioritize educating about Indigenous culture and embracing those identities. And I'm really psyched to just see how that happens, because I think that's an area that American schools could definitely grow in.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Taitung, the main population in Taitung is indigenous people. Yeah.
Interesting or impressive thing that I took off just kind of bounces off May's idea about indigenous cultures, and just like one thing that stood out to me was the parallels between like the changes in demographics in Taiwan's history over the course of 300, 400 years, and how that's really similar and mirrors to the demographic changes that happened in the States over the past 400 and 300 years too, and how, you know, that could be an opportunity for discussion with our students about, you know, changes in people, changes in diversity, changes in how, you know, people and countries, you know, just change their demographics, and how we can have a conversation about, you know, races and ethnicities and diversity, equity, inclusion in our classrooms, just using that shared history of like colonization and demographic shifts. So that really stood out to me.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think the demographic part is something like really good to teach the kids, because I think when I was a student, I don't think I learned a lot of the ethnicity in Taiwan. We learn at indigenous people, but because I'm Han Chinese and I'm always the majority, so I don't have that awareness. Like the school didn't teach us. Yeah. Okay, so thanks for the feedback or the comments or thoughts from the folks. So I got something that I want to remind is that the first thing is just don't stop doing self-retrospection. the thoughts, the awareness, the sensitivity, because it's like an ongoing process, like your self-dialogue. Okay, and the cultural competence self-assessment checklist, I'll send it to Kevi or just both the steps in Fulbright. It's a assessment checklist based on the ask model, so you can check like what are your strengths and what are the weaknesses you can improve to just help you to accommodate to help you adjust the life in Taiwan. Okay, and next thing is self-care. Self-care is always the fundamental part. So there's a saying that if you are on an airplane and an emergency happen, you can never help other people without putting the oxygen mask to yourself first. So take care of yourself first. That way you can help other people. And because you're going to teach kids, so taking care of yourself is extra important. And in the physical part, you can eat well balanced, do exercise on a regular basis. And the mental part is to manage your stress and vent out when you need. And the spiritual part is to do some meditation or any form of prayer based on your belief and religion. And social connection with people or keep in touch with friends and family back home. And the last thing is professional help. If difficulties or challenging is something that you cannot deal with by yourself, the professional help is always an option. So maybe you can talk to a counselor or to find psychiatrist just to, add up the professional help into your life to make things better. Okay, so to wrap up for today, I want to give you something and some quote. To be slow to judge, observe, and think first. And another quote is, one of the most effective ways to learn about yourself is by taking seriously the cultures of others. It forces you to pay attention to those details of life which differentiate them from you. Okay, so yeah, I really enjoyed the talk today. And to be honest, this is my first time doing this kind of talk online, so I'm a little bit nervous, but thank you for all the folks to be with me. And this is my email. So if you have any questions or any thoughts, welcome email me. So enjoy your cross-cultural journey in Taiwan, embrace the most you can and learn from both the new culture and your own culture. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy, for leading such an informative session. And also, thank you, everyone, for attending this morning. So we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.